workshop with Lily, right? A few months ago. So it was all in English, and I learned so much from the workshop. It's called the task-based learning. I will mention a lot of things that I have learned from this workshop with you. Okay, in a very short time. So, when I am confident enough, I try to use English in my class. I'm going to give you this example, the English camp. So, imagine this, students coming from different classes. This is a one-day English camp, and the head of the academic office, 教务处,教务主任, and she came to me and she said, okay, Richard, you are the 专任辅导员. It shouldn't be a problem for you. So, you'll be in charge of the English camp. So, I did this all by myself. I was thinking I want to make this camp fun. I didn't want to teach them 关代被动式来翻译. Yeah, and I use the task-based learning. I incorporate a lot of ideas into this camp. I'm going to show you how later on. And then it'll be a real application of the language. So again, I kept my students busy, walking, talking to each other, and they have to do a little presentation, just what I'm planning to do with you after we come back from our break. Okay, and then cooperative learning. Yeah, I learned a lot of skills from during the process. And English only policy. I told my students, you won't hear any Chinese from me. So this is the schedule, and let's take a look at those pictures. So from the first to the third period, I told my students, well, we're going to speak some English. But before we do that, they didn't know each other, right? And I want them to build a team spirit. So we have a lot of fun activities like icebreaker or personality survey. The idea is they have to interview each other. And they have to brainstorm for ideas. What kind of ideas? I told my students, okay, I met teachers from Japan and Korea. And we're going to have classes together with them. And in order to do that, you have to decide on the topic. You can talk about anything you like. So some naughty students in my class, they said, we would like to talk about how Taiwanese students make girlfriends. Well, yeah, you can do that. Okay, but you have to, make it more organized. The idea is good, but how do you realize your idea? So they brainstorm the ideas and they share their ideas with the rest of the class. That's how I got my students to talk in English. They have a reason, because we are going to have a video conference with students in Japan. And I want to look good, okay? And I want to be able to speak English with them. So I was motivating my students with this video conference, yeah. And then video theater. We have our elite students to compete in the contest for us, right? But what about the rest of the students, ordinary students, whose English is not so good? We still want to create the opportunity for them to, experience what it's like to tell a story in English. So we have this activity, video theater, and I lied to them. I said, I'm going to record your performances, and after that, I'm going to upload your performances onto YouTube. So your parents can have a look at home. Okay, so they were really working very hard. Okay, web quest, let's keep this part, and okay, the last one. It was taking place in a hot summer afternoon. So we made banana split. I gave them English ingredients, okay? And I showed them safety regulations, because we actually use the fire stove, okay? So safety is our priority, but I did this all in English. The worksheet, all the handout were in English, okay? So they really have fun. So let's take a look at their feedback. 全英文上课，这就是发音的重要，要和其他的互相 speak English， 体验全英文的环境，提升口说能力。希望有机会能再上一次。This is almost too good to be true. So when will your students tell you, "Teacher, I'm looking forward to your English class. Can we do this one more time?" Well, with activities like this, they are using the language and they are having fun, and they are communicating with each other in English. In that case, they'll love your English class. Okay. So, we're going to take a break in 5 minutes. Okay, not now. Okay, let me finish this first. Task-based learning. What is that? What is a task? A task is an activity which your students have to use English. They have to use English to read, to look for information, or they have to use English to ask each other questions. Like what we just did, okay? A task is when you ask your students to create a poster about their topic. What would they like to talk about to their Japanese or Korean counterparts through Skype? And we are going to do this for the next hour, okay? We have pre-task, main task, and post-task. What is pre-task for? Well, for pre-task, I will prepare my students for the main task. I will provide scaffolding. I will provide an easy task to review their vocabulary or to help them remember something we have learned from our last class. Okay, so to get them ready for the main task. And when your student complete the main task, they are going to have a report. They are going to reflect on the whole process. We are going to do this next hour. Okay. And task types. Well, you can get your students to compare different ideas or solving a problem. Just like the example I gave you. Okay, what if a foreign customer is coming to Taiwan and your boss tell you, okay, it is your job to show him around Taiwan City. Most important of all, you're going to get him finalize the deal. Okay? So I don't care about your scores on English tests. The only thing I care about is whether you can show him around and take him to our factory and do a little presentation about our product. So how are you going to do that? But this is too general, right? Let's boil it down to be more specific. Okay, when you have a chance to show him around in Taichung City, let's say Fengjiang Night Market, okay, please create a poster to introduce the beauty, the hospitality, or the good food of Fengjiang Night Market. Do that. Okay, so that's a task. That could be complicated. That could take several classes. So, this is my framework of lesson planning. Such a cliche. Lesson planning, when I was a student teacher, I did lesson planning, but after that, I did not do this anymore because I don't have to prepare for anything. Well, I thought this way too. But I took the online courses from, I went to Korea. Before I did that, I had to take a lot of classes. And I created a lot of lesson plans. And teachers from Japan and Korea, and the coordinator from Oregon University, the professor. we corrected each other's lesson plan together. So that's when I found out, I realized, wow, lesson planning is so important. You must have objectives. And then you have to come up with activities to support your objectives. And after that, you're going to use assessment to make sure your students are learning exactly the things you have planned for them. So, this is my framework. So, the golden teaching pyramid. And the 1, 2, 3, that means teaching procedures. That would be my lesson plans. So, my first objective with the given icebreakers, students are able to get to know each other. So the key word is get to know each other and build team spirit. I want my students to do something with the language. So that's a very clear objective. Okay, building team spirit. So how do I support my objective? I use activity, who's got what. If we have time, we can do this. And personality, quick, blah, blah, blah. And how do I know my students are learning exactly as I have planned? Well, I observe. This is not an official assessment, but, well, I just know that. Based on their interaction, they are having fun, they are having smiles all over their faces, they are talking in English. Then I know my objective is met. So that's my lesson plan. Oh, and my procedures, right? So first step, I want to introduce myself, and I want to show them the purpose of learning English. And learning English can be fun, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can have a look at yourself. And pre-task, how do I prepare my students for the main task? Okay, those lines are a little bit blurred, not very obvious. But anyway, pre-task, we watch interesting videos. We use activities. The main task would be creating a poster to introduce my market, or how Taiwanese students make girlfriends or boyfriends. And what about the post task? My students have to do little reports about their ideas and about how they are going to make their ideas more specific, more organized. They have to do oral reports. Okay,